Hey everyone, my name is Taps, and you've all been asking me for an updated price prediction roadmap on Ecomi and Veve's OMI token. So I've taken a lot of time to really look at what we know is all coming, to lay out rough timelines, what the main catalysts are going to be, different scenarios, and ultimately what price I believe the OMI token will be end of year, as well as what it will look like come the year 2025. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community and feel free to subscribe. I'm a crypto stock and real estate investor, but never a financial advisor. All right, so I'm going to primarily speak about the OMI token, but Veve as a company and the collectibles have been on an absolute rampage. They have been crushing everything they do. Every single drop now sells out in seconds. The user base, which was only a couple thousand back in February, is now somewhere around 600 to 700,000 users, not even a year later. And you can feel it. I mean, I'm striking out on some drops now because there's just so many people participating. Well, I have bad news. It's only going to get harder. More eyes are going to be shifting to Veve once Immutable is complete. We're able to mint these NFTs, able to cash out with MTL, a money transfer license, and when they start inevitably expanding to the larger audience base, which we know is like the APAC region and many more. Almost every single drop you can then participate in, nab one, and then sell for an immediate gain. I mean, look at the common Labbit. It was animated from $25. It's now selling somewhere around $500, the floor. It was over a 2,000% gain the same day. So while we're focused on our OMI and like what that investment is worth, it really makes sense to play both Veve collectibles and the OMI token, which I do. And shout out to Cavell Anderson for actually showing this VeveVault Value Estimator that is in Ecomi Wiki. I've showed Ecomi Wiki's marketplace floors side quite a bit, but I did not know this was something until Cavell showed this on Twitter. So really cool tool where you can actually go ahead and click and add the number of collectibles that you have, how many you have from that side, and then it go ahead and estimates at the current value. This shows that I've roughly invested, it says around $5,500, but I know that I've scoped some stuff off of the floor for higher amount. So I'm probably about $7,000 to maybe $7,500 invested so far into the Veve collectibles, and my current vault value at today's prices is around $41,000. And in the big spectrum of things, I don't have the best luck. I don't actually secure, all the ultra rares. I've never actually secured a secret rare on a single drop. I've only gotten a handful of actual ultra rares. But I did complete a lot more sets when the prices dropped back in August. But it's really cool to see a 5x in less than a year on the collectibles that I can't even mint yet. That is better than any 401k that you've ever seen, and stronger than a lot of different stocks and other things just through the collectible side. And we know these things are going to be worth that much more once we can mint them and we have the ability to use them in the Veveverse. People are finally getting it. Bigger whales are jumping in and the prices are going absolutely ballistic, and they're going to continue to, but OMI hasn't caught up yet. Veve has shown that it is incredibly successful, but OMI is still greatly undervalued. And that's because the full utility, or just even basic utility, hasn't really been granted yet. It's still incredibly limited in how you can invest in it on exchanges. And OMI is about to, but hasn't yet, made its jump to Immutable X, which was announced back in May. So many are waiting to actually see, like, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? And it's right, it's happening. But again, many have also forgotten about it since that initial announcement. But the world is starting to realize that Immutable is an incredible layer 2 Ethereum solution, and its ecosystem is building out pretty impressively with some solid projects on it, including Ecomi and Veve. And there's about to be a lot more eyes on the name Immutable, which will also benefit all of the projects that are being built as the OG projects on the Immutable ecosystem. As you can see, TikTok just announced they're going to be selling creator-led NFTs from Bella Porch, huge name in social media. Lil Nas, who is big name in the music world. He's made tons of hits. Gary Vee, we all know who Gary Vee is. Grimes is very outspoken in the NFT world. RTFKT, Artifact, is also very well known in the NFT world, and a project on Immutable X. This is coming on this 6th, which is in 3 days. So it's about to be a lot more eyes on Immutable X, and again, all the projects associated. Veve. On to OMI, which we can see is already starting to shoot up. Let's get right into the price prediction and why. So I have updated this, and this is scenario 1 of 2. This is speculative, just my analysis and what I personally believe will happen. And of course, these are my assumptions that kind of line up with things that Veve and Ecomi have said on the timelines of when these things will happen, but they could bleed into other months based on what kind of priorities they have, which we've seen with Ecomi's ETA and other crypto projects many times before. For the most part, the price prediction is pretty similar, if not the exact same from what I did back in May, but the timelines have shifted because many of the things that we had thought were going to happen over those couple months in summer didn't happen, but are about to happen. And we fell into a very bearish lag run that was very unexpected to the crypto world. And so that pushed out the timelines by a couple months. In that time, we actually fell down to 0.0014. So if you invested at that time, then your investment is up 400%, and we're just getting started. It has around 200% to reclaim its all-time high, and the price doubled in September alone. And so let's start there. We can see in September what happened, what caused it to go from 0.003 to 0.006. You can see that the comics and collectibles absolutely mooned. It attracted more users. Awareness picked up where Ecomi was being mentioned by Altcoin Daily and Tom Bilyeu, which I had an interview with him. Cryptos R Us talking about them. Crypto Rain is continuing to talk about them. More and more attention is coming back to Ecomi and Veve. It's feeling more like March again, but there's a lot more built out since that time frame. The crypto bull run re-engaged, and Immutable X MTL and VeveVerse dates have been clarified. Up until that point, they were always talked about, but there was no real solidity to them because, again, it was like, oh, it's coming. But now we know Immutable X is here, about to happen. MTL is finalizing, and VeveVerse we know is sometime in 2022, and they're aiming for Q1. So it's all finally about to happen. So with that in mind, end of October, I believe we'll be at 0.018. So we will not only reclaim our all-time high, but go past it with a 300% gain in the next month. And again, these could bleed, like a week or two over, but October is going to be nuts. And that's because we have Immutable X. It'll go in different phases, but the full migration will be going through this month. We have MTL, assuming they're going to finally move forward. They're supposed to have that happen in September, but they did say, there could be a little bit of bleed over into October. We have New York Comic-Con. So again, more comic exclusive drops, more attention, more users. Master Collector Program has been spoken about. We've gotten a lot more color around it, but the Medium article is going to be coming out, and that is also more solidity. Showroom version 2. Season 3 starts. So again, season 2 caps. And we'll probably see some spooky new licenses. I'm thinking maybe like Halloween or Jason or something like even tied, like I showed the CLC, Creative Licensing Corp's license has some ties back to those. And I believe we'll see something like that. As well as they spoke about how we had 4 or 5 different exchanges coming, and we only saw 2 of those, which means that there are at least 2 other exchanges that are originally in mind back in July or June that we have not yet seen, because we know that they're waiting for Immutable X to announce compatible exchanges. So I believe we'll see at least 1 or 2 of those exchanges, and I'm wondering if we'll have some kind of big announcement around their anniversary, which I believe is October 15th. October is super bullish. And then until the end of November, we have more exchanges. I think we'll see a large exchange then. Hopefully that's when we'll actually see Master Collector Program start to actually be used, and hopefully some form of staking with the OMI token. We have Designer Con, which I will be at, and I know some of the other homies will be there as well. Marketing. We're still waiting on marketing. We're still waiting on larger artists and license drops as well, because I think what's going to happen, and this is again me speculating, but I think one large licensor every season will probably be announced. Maybe it'll go into 2 eventually once there's more and more. The first season was the first season, right? So there was a lot of large licensors that were announced, and then there's some that were actually implemented. But then season 2, Marvel obviously, right? But Marvel I don't think is their number 1. Season 3, maybe we'll eventually see something like Disney or Star Wars. And I think further down the line, when we can actually handle the bandwidth, Pokemon will be king. But I think in November we'll have like a larger artist mention. I'm hoping for like Cause. And I think maybe then we'll start to see some of the licensors that have been announced that have been waiting for, like Jurassic Park, or hopefully Capcom. Sometime in November, we will hit that threshold of 1 million users that they were targeting for the end of the year. From 0.018 to 0.032, be an 80% gain. Running until December, I believe then we'll start to see localization come into play, which means sense for the anime vertical, which means they'll be targeting APAC, and hopefully we'll get some color around OMI to NFT. Again, adding more utility to the OMI token besides just the staking, and there'll be all that build up leading to the VeveVerse for the next year. And so this red line represents what I believe will be inevitably the bear cycle. And so I do think we'll hit it sometime in December. So I believe that we'll probably sit around 6 cents for the year 2021. And then what'll happen is we'll go into a bear cycle and it'll be longer. But if it does manage to actually go into 2021 and we're able to see the first phase of the VeveVerse at the end of the quarter, then it's just going to keep scaling up, and at least 15 cents would make sense for this upside run. And again, the constants: burning tokens, signing a new license, celebrity influencer adoption, app usability, like these things are always constants. Now, of all these things, you'll see highlighted Immutable X, MTL, 2 exchanges, large exchange, master collector program, staking. Like, I think these are the biggest things that are going to help the OMI token because, again, it gives more utility, it gives more access. So we need Immutable X to go through and have that done. We need the ability to cash out just to help, again, continue to grow Veve, which grows OMI, and the exchanges. Now, I want to give you another scenario. What happens if the bull run doesn't go to the end of the year? What happens if it ends in November? There are a lot of potential negative events that are starting to stack up. So while I'm bullish AF on OMI, I think it's important to prepare and to have an investor mentality over a moon boy mentality. So it makes sense to lay out the options so you're prepared for it, just in case. All of the catalysts are the same, and all of this is the same right up until that bear cycle line. Now, if this does happen, it would be because of a collection of possibility things, right? So it could be tapering inflation. The SEC just announced they were having talks and that we're probably going to start tapering, and inflation is going to start becoming a real reality because of all the money printing that we keep doing coming in November. Crypto is affected by the major markets. Tapering inflation will have a massive effect on the major markets, which will then affect crypto. But I don't think it will be just that one thing, but it could also, again, be regulation. It could be the variants that are picking up and causing more strain and more lockdowns, greater market decline, like what's happening with China and Evergrande having ripple effects simultaneously, and institutions selling due to fear or because they have climbed up so high on their investments. So if this were to happen, I wanted to throw this in as a possibility, obviously not a guarantee, that I believe if that happened sometime in November, then at our target of around 3 cents in November, that we would then drop about 60% to about 0.013. Now, you could say, oh man, like it would drop that much. 60% compared to many of the other altcoins that aren't going to be able to hold up is actually really solid. Most of us have shifted to a long hold mentality. We know we want to stake. We know that we want to buy land. Being at 1 cent is still higher than where it's at right now. However, usually bear runs are much longer, but I think what happened with this inflation, all that, I imagine what would happen is we would fall into a bear cycle that would be much shorter. And so I believe it would be something similar to what happened in March, where we had a drop and then 2 to 3 months later, we were good. And the reason why is because ETH 2.0 will be happening sometime in probably Q2, but possibly Q1 of 2022. And I believe that will be a re-spark on top of all the ETFs and everything else that is supposed to happen. So I believe that it would be a mini bull market again in the middle or maybe later of 2022. And if that does happen, we're in the VeveVerse phases. I think we've been in season 4 and there'd be probably like a Disney announced. And if that's the case, if it aligned that way to where there was another initial jump into a bull market, and they're able to time the VeveVerse phases around ETH 2.0, then we would see a significant jump of around 770% to around the 10 cent mark in Q2 of 2022. Again, just my thoughts, just my speculation. I did a lot of number crunching. I did a lot of what if this, what if that. And the other thought is, what if that second bull market doesn't happen and we just go into a bear run for 3 years until the next halving? I don't think that's going to be the case, but hold. Keep stacking OMI, keep adding. You'll be able to stake it. You'll have a longer time to grow your bag and become a true millionaire. With these two scenarios in mind, what's my profit taking strategy? Everyone always asks me this. I will take 10% at the 3 cent mark. And that's because my average price is around 0.003. And so with that in mind, if I take 10%, then I return my full initial investment, and the 90% is now all house money that I can stake, that I can use in the VeveVerse, that I can keep adding to. With staking and land and more utility inevitably coming, I plan to use my investment well to keep adding OMI over this time, with the full intention of becoming a true multimillionaire through my investment in OMI, completely alone from my other crypto and stock investments. And I believe this is entirely possible if we're patient. The big number that everyone asks and everyone always pumps is, when will Ecomi hit $1? I initially thought probably sometime around 2027, but looking at the numbers and all of the things that can and could be happening in those next 3 years, I now believe OMI will hit $1 in 2025. And you're like, so Taps, 3 years away until $1, really? That's like a 16,000% gain. Sure is. And you can see actually on the top 10 biggest gainers, which coins have gained the most this year, OMI is leading the way at number 1 at 15,000% gain. So it's already been done. And so spread over those 3 years based on what's going to happen and where we'll be, another 16,000 is not out of the cards. And we've seen many other projects have an initial jump when they were first created and they were in a bull market. Again, I've shown this before, but Engine is a prime example. Those who held Engine back in 2017 were on top of the world in 2018 when it had that run. But if they just kept holding and kept adding over that period during the bear market, they are truly happy now. And I know people want a large number, or they want like $10 by 2025, but you have to consider the balance. What happens in investing? Like, why not sooner? Why is it, not 2023 or 2022? You have to consider new money coming into the investment and old money, or people who've already been invested in it, taking profit. It's basically like a teeter-totter balance, right? When the price shoots up to 10 cents or 15 cents or 50 cents, you don't think the people who are sitting on billions with a B aren't going to be taking profit? You don't think the team aren't going to be taking profit? You don't think the people who are sitting on hundreds of millions aren't going to be taking profit? Of course they are. But again, there is going to be an influx and an out. And being patient for 3 years to make that much money is really not a long time. Basically, if you had bought 1 million OMI when it was at 0.003, which was a month ago, it would have been $3,000. And if you can turn $3,000 into $1 million in 3.5 years, you are crushing the investing game. But what changed my mind? Originally, I actually thought 2025 we'd be around like 40 cents to maybe like 60 cents. But let me show you what changed my mind. And that's because I believe at that time we'll go into a circulating supply shock. We can see from OMI data, OMI burn progress. We're currently at 15% burned of the circulating supply, which is nuts. Right now, we're burning 808 million OMI a week. There is 217 billion left in circulating supply. So of course, as the price of OMI goes up, less will be burnt, but we're also going to see a lot more burn mechanism coming, as Dan and David have said, as well as we know a ton is going to be burnt in the VeveVerse. So let's just use this number as a whole for now, but 808, 736 million times 52, because there's 52 weeks in a year. So 42 billion burnt a year. And I'm going to times that by 3.5 because we have about 3.5 years, or basically 3 years, 6 months until we're like deeply in 2025. And that comes out to 147 billion. And again, this will fluctuate because I believe it'll also burn more at some point too, because we'll have a lot more burning. So this will leave the circulating supply at only about 60 billion. And when this bar is showing that we're at 70% or 75% burnt, you can believe it's going to create a big panic to get in, to buy. And there's many other factors that go into this, but this is what convinced me that $1 is very possible, because we are burning like crazy in such a short amount of time with such little utility yet. On top of this, in 2025, we know that the Bitcoin halving will happen sometime in 2024 and then probably start the next big bull run. in 2025 if history does repeat. Looking at many hype cycles into technology, augmented reality and wearable tech will be much more advanced come that time, as well as metaverse adoption will be much more affluent, as well as little nuanced things like potentially all verticals will be released. In my initial interview with Reese back in April, he said that they had 8 verticals. So pop culture, sports, gaming, film, TV, anime, celebrities, vehicles, and artists. We've seen a few vehicles, we've seen a few artists, we've seen just started now to see film and TV, but again, there are many other verticals that we have not yet seen. We have more digital products that we'll inevitably see, right? Digital collectibles have obviously been killing it. Comics blew us away. We'll eventually see digital toys in the VeveVerse and who knows what else. And this last piece is, what if Veve partners with other NFT projects for their VeveVerse? What happens if they allow them to come in to bring their user base, to bring their crowds? And it wouldn't surprise me if they did so almost exclusively with immutable projects, which are all stacked. Guild of Guardians, Tom Bilyeu's project, and many others would coincide very well into this world and bring value to Ecomi and Veve. And again, gaming companies, they're not necessarily going to go the play to earn route or become the ultimate gaming world, but they could work with gaming companies. They could work with outside developers to build something on the side to put into their own world. Or build an OMI ecosystem. What happens if they build other projects on the OMI token? 3 years is a long time, but a short amount of time when it comes to the crypto world. So think big. Really think about, we always say it, that we're so early, and it's because we are. And there's so much opportunity, not just in the Veve collectibles, but the OMI token, because again, we're about to see it granted that true utility. There's been that great debate for a while between exclusively Veve users and exclusively OMI holders about which one is the better investment. Well, collectibles have shot up, leaving the OMI token somewhat in the dust, right? And that's because so many of the things that bring value to the token, that utility, hadn't happened yet and were put off, but we're finally here. It's about to finally pop off. I did a video at the beginning of September letting everyone know, get ready for what's about to happen. The price doubled. It's now the beginning of the next month in October, and I'm now saying it's about to go nuts. And within this next month, with the 3 major catalysts happening, Immutable X, MTL, and exchanges, I believe the price will triple in the month of October to November and then keep scaling up. As we've seen, OMI is one of the highest performing tokens in this bull run in 2021. And I believe it will be one of the top performing in the next bull run, as well as a potential top 10 crypto come 2025. So I hope this was helpful for your investment strategy to kind of see what the roadmap looks like, where we've been, where we're going, what hasn't happened yet, and why it's going to go up in value still. If you're like me, then your investment strategy, your plan is to hold until 2025 for a majority of your OMI holdings. So that way you get to be a true millionaire off of your OMI holdings, as well as hold some prime digital real estate in the VeveVerse. 3 years is not that long. So stay patient, my friends, and enjoy the ride. As always, I hope you found my content valuable, and if so, please hit the like button and leave a comment down below. The likes and comments appease the algo overlords and help my channel to continue to grow. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell for future content. That's it for today. I'm Taps. Thank you for your time, and happy trading.